Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Emma LaFave, and today we're going to be looking at a bunch of different Princeton brush sets to figure out which one is the right one for you. So let's jump right in and start. Okay guys, as you can see, I have a plethora of brushes here, more brushes than I definitely need, but I was generously gifted a lot of these brushes from Princeton themselves. If you guys have been watching me for a long time, especially in the beginning, you know that I'm a huge fan of the Princeton snap brushes. These were kind of my babies that I used right at the very beginning and fell in love with. I love them because of their stiffness and their snap, hence the name Princeton Snap, and their affordability. They have always been some of my favorite brushes, and since the beginning using them, I have tried other brushes that I've also really liked, like the Wonder Forest brushes, Craftamo brushes. I really haven't come across bad quality brushes, thankfully, but what I want you to know when picking brushes, it's a totally personal thing. So something that I may prefer may not be necessarily what you prefer. They all feel different, and it's not necessarily their performance because you're not going to be able to tell which brush I necessarily used on the page. It's just the way they feel. So I'm going to go through each of these brush sets that I have from Princeton to kind of give you an idea of how they feel, because you're not going to be able to see it. It's very different. It's not like a paint quality. It's a feeling of a brush, and yeah, so hopefully this will be helpful. But I was, like I said, gifted some amazing brush sets from Princeton, and if you know, they don't have the cheapest brushes. They have really high quality, expensive brushes. So these are not necessarily brushes I would have bought on my own. I'm definitely a bargain kind of gal. So I am so grateful for this. And the ones I were gifted were the Velvet Touch series over here, the Neptune series, the Aqua Elite, and the Aqua Elite Travel, which Princeton, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's incredible. And then here I have the Select series that I bought on my own and I have used a few times. My Snap ones, which I have a ton of, and you know, I used to use them all the time. And then the Heritage series, which I don't honestly use, and I'll get to why I don't use them as much. But let's just jump right in. I'm going to give you some facts off their website of each series, kind of what they're made for, their stiffness rating, and all that. And we're just going to kind of talk while we just paint here. So hopefully this will be useful to you and you'll enjoy it. So let's start off with the Velvet Touch. So these came in a pack together, and you get a 3/4 inch wash brush, which is always great to have a wash brush or like a mop brush to do backgrounds. You get a size 8 long round, which I'm guessing they're referring long round to the length of these bristles, which definitely do make a difference in my opinion, because I find like the Princeton Snap, these are a different size, but they're definitely shorter. And for my personal preference, I actually prefer shorter bristles to long ones, so that's interesting. Then we have a size 4, I haven't even used this one, round, which looks super pointy and beautiful, and this angular shader. So let's kind of get to trying and just see how they feel. So first, let's look what it says on their website. The stiffness rating is a 3 out of 5, which is pretty good. I like a stiff brush. They are made for acrylic, watercolor, and oil. So you can use them for any medium, which is kind of cool. I don't usually paint with acrylic or oil, and part of me would have a really hard time using these with acrylic or oil. They're so beautiful. I wouldn't want to get them ruined. And it says they're the best quality brush for all media, including oil, acrylic, watercolor, and gouache. The blend of synthetic is unique to each individual shape to enhance performance. Comfort is ensured with our smooth signature Velvet Touch handle. Okay, so that's one thing I'm going to mention. The handles on these, I wish you could feel them. They are very velvety and they are absolutely comfortable and beautiful. And overall, all the brushes are stunning, but these Feels super nice. So let's kind of just get into it. I'm going to start off with the round just because that's kind of my go-to style of brush. And remember, this is a long round. So I feel like it might be a bit different for me to use because I'm used to like shorter handled brushes. So let's just try like a rose. Like the tip is nice, but see this long, because it's longer, it's thinner towards the top and it's harder to get those thicker strokes, in my opinion. It's still nice to use. The stiffness is actually pretty nice. I like a stiff and snappy brush. And it has quite a lot of precision, which I don't know if I'm a fan of. Like, just with my work, I work with loose flowers mostly, right? So it's just very pointed, which is nice, but I don't know. I find it harder to get those thicker, kind of looser strokes with it. You really have to kind of put it on its side, which is interesting. It's really hard to test these out because it's not like you're going to see the difference, right? It's just me feeling the difference and trying to explain it to you. And my words don't always come out perfectly. Okay, so like you get really nice precision with the lines, but like if I wanted to get a nice thick leaf, I'd have to do 2 strokes or something. It's a little bit more difficult. As for like absorption of water, it seems to hold water well, but because it's not a big brush, it's not going to hold too much water, right? But stiffness is nice. I don't know if I'm a fan of the long tip, if that makes sense to you. But it's definitely nice. It feels really nice in your hand. Let's try the wash. Okay, so just feeling it. Feels pretty stiff. I'm just gonna do a line. Like, I feel like any wash brush is important to have. Especially if you do landscapes. Just to get, it's really hard to get those big backgrounds with a round brush. And it's a lot easier to blend a background with a wash brush. So that feels really nice, and you don't need it to be too snappy or anything. It holds enough water. It's not like sopping wet or anything, but it seems really nice. Let's see. An angular shader I don't really tend to use very much. When I do, I'm probably using acrylic, and I'm trying to get into those really sharp edges that I want, like nice little flat. So like, let's say I was doing an acrylic painting and I wanted to like get in around an area. That's usually when I would use an angular shader to get in those little crevices. It's just a lot easier like that. Like if I was doing a background or something. I know this looks weird. Like, what are you even painting? But yeah, these are nice. I like the stiffness of these. And then this little one, which I actually think I might use more because I don't really have a tiny brush. The point on this is really nice. Oops, my hand is in it. Yeah, for like little detail, the point is pretty insane. Like, look at these lines you can get. Like, that's pretty decent. And then you can press down and get thicker lines. That's a nice brush. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with these. The only thing is I don't know if I like the length of this one. That's about it. But these are pretty beautiful brushes. And I don't know, they're a great set. They feel amazing. I love this like velvety handle. Okay, so next we're going to look at the Neptune series, and I've actually used these probably more than any of the other brushes since I've got them because they are so different than what I'm used to. I'm used to a nice stiff and snappy brush, which I usually really like, and these are super soft. So let's look at the website, and they have a stiffness rating of 1, which is very soft, and usually I would shy away from that, but I was kind of intrigued by it. And they are meant for watercolor, and the reason why is because they are so soft, they hold water really well. So it says, when we set out to create a synthetic version of squirrel, so this is supposed to mimic like a squirrel hair brush, which those brushes tend to hold a lot more water, so I think that's why they are trying to imitate that, which is pretty cool. And they're synthetic, so that's great. We developed a brush that may actually outperform the natural version. Neptune is our softest and thirstiest synthetic brush, delivering oceans of color. So, like I said, very soft brush. I was intrigued because I've seen a lot of artists use these really soft, usually real animal hair brushes. I'm not a fan of actual animal hair, so the fact that this is synthetic is pretty awesome. And yeah, I've used it quite a bit because I find it's almost easier to get loose or more loose with a softer brush. So let me just kind of demonstrate. It holds a lot of water, and the feeling of this brush is like when you tap it on your jar, it just feels lighter because it's just so soft. I'm trying to explain this and it's just hard. Okay, let's just grab some purple. And it's just like the range of motion you get with this, like look how big those strokes are. And this is a bit more my style of stroke opposed to a thinner, stiffer brush. And I find it's just really easy to be loose with this brush, which is funny because I have tried the Princeton Heritage series, which is actually also pretty, I found it too soft for my liking compared to the Snap, and I didn't like it. But these are like super soft and I kind of like it. So, I mean, like what am I painting here right now? It's just like, look at these strokes. They're super wet. So this is also great if you live in a hot climate. I've had some people say, my paintings dry too fast. It's so hot here. So this might actually be a great option for you to find a brush that is super soft and holds a lot of water to keep your paintings staying wet longer. Does that make sense? I don't know what I'm painting here. Let's be honest. But yeah, they're just so soft. And then I'm going to show you, I know that looks super weird. It's not even a painting. One other brush in this set that I really like is this oval wash. I thought it was like a cat tongue brush, but I don't know. But it's a really cool shape. And I actually really like using this for leaves, which I will show you. They make leaves almost so much easier. They're so, and they're not perfect, which I kind of like. So you can do like your little line with the tip and then just kind of, like it makes these really beautiful shapes of leaves that are kind of a bit more organic and like less perfect looking. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? And you can use it on its side to get that kind of traditional round brush shape, or you can use it like this flat side down and get this kind of curvy leaf shape, which is interesting and I really like. So that's really cool to me. Sorry about this flower. I don't know where I was going. I just kind of started painting and it didn't make much sense. And then they also have in this set the square wash, which is soft and also holds a lot for backgrounds, which is great. So again, if like you're living in a really hot climate and you want to get a lot of water down on your paper, a softer brush might be the way to go. So it's similar to that, but I think it holds a bit more water and paint. So for me, I don't think I could just have these brushes because I do like a stiff brush, but I really like having these in my brush collection as an option. So that's just something to think about. And then the size 4 round, I don't find myself using as much just because like it's a bit too soft for like my little detailed leaves, So I don't find myself using it as much, but I mean, if you want to be a bit more loose, it's nice to have. So this set is really great. I actually am enjoying it. But yeah, that is the Neptune series, and I've actually seen a lot of artists really like these as well. Okay, so now let's talk about the Aqua Elite pack that I got, and these are some fun shapes. I got a oval wash, 3/4 inch. I have a size 12 long round, so again, it's like a longer round brush. It has a pretty great point. Then I got this Molter brush. I didn't know that was what it was called, but it's like great for background washes and stuff. And then a size 8 round. So let's give these a try. It being a long round, I assume that it might be similar to this Velvet Touch one. And actually, hold on, let's just look at what it says about it. So it has a stiffness rating of 2, and it's mostly for watercolor, and you can use it for oil. So it says Aqua Elite is an innovative synthetic hair paintbrush that is indistinguishable from Kolinsky, yet more affordable. Okay, so let's play. This is a little less stiff than the others, but I'm gonna have fun and try. Again, for my type of like florals that I do, the point is great, but I feel like this long round just might be a bit more difficult to work with. Or actually, it's not too bad. It's just, I'm not as used to the shapes. I'm used to shorter brushes. So it's a little bit harder for me. It depends on what you're painting though. So maybe if you're doing some more detailed work, these really long pointed ones might be a bit better. I mean, they're definitely usable. Like you can definitely create some beautiful stuff, but it might just be something that I need to get used to because I'm used to shorter brushes. And I'm finding it hard to get the kind of strokes that I really want. So that's what I notice about this. But as for stiffness, it is on the softer side. So it's not as stiff as I usually like, but it's okay. And it has a kind of like a velvety, same kind of handle as the Velvet Touch. It's beautiful, like this matte black kind of velvety handle, which is gorgeous. And let's use this oval wash because I do love the shape. It's so fun, especially for leaves. And this is just bigger than the Neptune oval wash that I had. So let's try it on a bit of a bigger scale, shall we? So kind of using it flat. Like, look at the fun kind of leaf shapes you get. I'm a fan of this shape. It's not necessary, but it's definitely fun to use. Yeah, so these do feel softer. They do seem to hold a lot of water, which is good. And you'll get that with softer brushes. But yeah, I love this oval shape. So you can get that like round, typical leaf shape just by putting it on its side. But if you use the flat way, you can get some fun shapes. I do like this, especially for larger scale florals. Doing leaves with this is a lot of fun. And then the same size 8. I don't know if this is, it doesn't say long round, so I think this is just like a regular size 8, which is nice. So let's see if I can do like a little flower or something over here. Yeah, I find the long rounds are a little bit more difficult for me to use. It's a lot easier. Like this feels a lot easier than a long round, if that makes sense. It's just easier to get the strokes that I want. Yeah, so this is a beautiful brush. And actually it's not too snappy, but it's not too soft either. It's actually quite nice. I like that. Very, very nice. And then lastly, actually let's try a couple of little leaves with this because it has a perfect point. Yeah, and it snaps back. It's not too soft, but it is a little bit on the softer side than I like. I will say that. But it snapped back pretty well. And then this, I'm guessing you use for like really big washes. So I don't typically use like really big paper, But if I was, and I was doing like a large, what's it called? Landscape, you know, background sky, this would be great. And it's actually pretty stiff. It's not very soft. It's pretty stiff. But yeah, it's actually really nice to have some of these bigger brushes because I wouldn't have necessarily bought them on my own, but I'm actually kind of enjoying having them. All right. Okay, so that is the Aqua Elite, and I actually quite like them. They're very nice. And before we move on to these, they did give me the travel set of Aqua Elite. So there's a travel set of 4 different sizes, and they're very handy. Like, look how cute these are. You just turn them around, and they're very, very lightweight. So I'm assuming they're very similar, although this looks a little bit shorter. Yeah, because it's not, let me show you the difference between the long round. So this is a long round, and this is just a 10 round. But see the difference between the long round and the regular round, which I definitely like this shape better, just for what I do, but it's very cool. So it comes with a size 10, a size 4, a size 8, and a size 6, which is pretty great range of shapes and sizes. And yeah, just looking at them, I definitely like the shapes of these better. Let me just quickly use one just for fun. Yeah, this is definitely more my speed, and they do feel a little bit stiffer. So I don't know if they're the same brush. They're called Aqua Elite, but I think I actually like these better. I like the bristles on these better. They're shorter, a bit fatter, and they also have a really great point. So yeah, for travel, I'm definitely going to be using these. And it also comes with this really cute carrying case, so super handy. All right, so let's get into the ones that I've bought myself that I have used and loved. Now, the Princeton Select, I actually don't use these for watercolor. I use these for either gouache or acrylic, mostly just because of the shapes that they come with in the set. I don't typically use these shapes with watercolor. These are perfect for when I'm using acrylic or gouache, just because of the sizes. I haven't tried any of the round brushes, like the bigger round brushes. This is the round brush that it comes with, a size 4. And as you can see, it's not too pointed. I'm not going to demo these because I don't really use them with watercolor. It's okay, but it's on the thinner side. So these are great, I find, for gouache, and they're very affordable. The one I do use for watercolor is this mop brush. I love this for backgrounds. I got this before I had any kind of wash brush, and I just find that the mop brush holds a lot more water. It's softer and is really great if you're working in a hot climate and you want to do like a really wet background. I love this for watercolor, so I will just say that. And these are very affordable. Okay, so I'm not going to get into too much of these, but you guys know I love my Princeton snap brushes. I've had these for a long time. The main reason why I love them is because of the snappiness of the bristles. They're very stiff. Let's actually look at what it says on the website. So for the snap brushes, they have a stiffness rating of 3, which I thought they'd be stiffer because they actually feel a lot stiffer to me, and I love them for that. They're actually meant for watercolor and acrylic. I've never used them for acrylic again, but I've loved them for watercolor. I just find with a stiffer brush, you have a lot of great control, especially for beginners. And that's kind of why I loved it, and I've stuck with it. But they've just always been my favorite for that. So I feel like I don't need to demo too much, but just the ends that you get, the edges, they're just a lot more rounded. And they still hold a lot of water, but they're just stiffer. It's just something that I prefer. It's definitely my own preference when I'm working with watercolor brushes. And this is something I really love for these brushes. And I just, like I said, like the control that you can get, especially for beginners, I think it's a little bit easier to work with rather than a soft brush. But again, your own preference. And that is that. And then lastly, I'm not going to do too many demos, are the Princeton Heritage brushes. I know a lot of artists that love using these too. I got these in a kit from Jenna Rainey back when she was selling like watercolor kits ages ago. And I don't love them. They are a lot softer than the snap brushes. It's like hard to tell, like they just feel a little bit softer. Let's look at what it says on the website. So funny enough, they actually have the same stiffness rating. I don't find it that way. I do find the snap brushes a lot snappier, but these are also highly meant for watercolor, a little bit of acrylic. And I think that's because they're softer, in my opinion. They have the same stiffness rating, but they hold more water, but they're a little bit softer in my opinion. So they're not my favorite. But I know a lot of artists love them, and it's definitely, like I said, a preference thing. So I'll just use this. I have a size 16 and a size 6, I believe. I think I might have another size somewhere else. I think a 2 somewhere. But yeah, they're just, I don't know, it's just the feeling you get when you use a brush. And that's one thing that I find it hard to explain to people when they say, what brush should I have? And I'm like, I don't know, what do you like? You have to kind of test it out, unfortunately, to see what you like. And unfortunately for the snap brushes, I find them very affordable, especially where I am. In Canada, you can get one for under $10 and they're great. So they're very affordable. Like, you can definitely create the same kind of thing. It's just the feeling you get. I just have a better feeling when I'm using the snap ones. But yeah, that's kind of it for my review on all of these brushes. Really, you can't go wrong with Princeton. They definitely have high quality brushes. They are great, and different ranges of price points. So hopefully that was a bit of insight into what the different brushes do and how they feel. Strictly my own opinion. If you use them before, let me know in the comments below which ones are your favorites and which ones you like, or even just what kind of type of brush that you like to use. Like, let's just talk about it. Let's have a conversation and talk about brushes. And that's about it. So while I am a big fan of Princeton, I do have other favorites, like I've mentioned before. My Craftamo brushes I really love. They have the same kind of stiffiness as the snap ones, but even maybe a bit more. And then Wonder Brush has a really great line too. And they're actually kind of similar to these. They have the longer bristles and the really sharp points. So it's really, again, whatever you prefer, try some out, and I hope that was helpful. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I really hope you liked it, and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel and follow me on Instagram for even more. Have a great day, guys. Bye!